Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome wherever you're from wherever you're listening to and whenever you're listening to it, of course. Welcome to Coffee with Kevin. I just love that entry music. My son's been on my case to change the music, get something a little more hip, but it's like dun, 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 dun. Hey, it's wow, May the 12th. May the 12th be with you. Oh, I'm sorry. That was 8 days ago. May the 4th be with you. It's such a great day. Matter of fact, my coffee cup says today is a good day for a good day. I'm going to correct it. It's a good day for a great day. Yes. This is Coffee with Kevin. And I'm Kevin. And this is my coffee. Mm-hmm. 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 I hope you're enjoying a nice, beautiful, hot cup of coffee like I am, or maybe it's a hot cup of tea, which I have sometimes, or maybe it's water, maybe it's a juice, a smoothie, or something like that. But whatever it is, this is to you to have a great day. Mm, mm, mm. Yes, yes. So today is May the 12th. And on this day in 1932. It was a sad day. A lot of us may not have known this. I did. I think I learned this in school. Of course, we learned about the first man to fly all around the world, Charles Lindbergh. He became increasingly famous. He became wealthy, or maybe he was already wealthy when because he had the ability to fly around the world and build a big plane, and have that going. But in 1932, on this day, they found his baby dead. His baby had been kidnapped for ransom, and the baby died. That's a sad thing. It was a sad story to someone who did such great things in his life for humanity. I mean, showing that this can be done. Also on this day, 1963, for those of you, I'm aging myself here. Those of you who remember hearing about the Ed Sullivan Show. Yes, I grew up as a child, and my parents watched it. And he used to be famous for saying, "It's a really big show, a really big show." And he had a lot of stars, a lot of music stars. That's where the Beatles debuted in here. But on 1963, he was going to have Bob Dylan, this young, barely known musician. Um, and at the last minute, as he was getting ready, the network came down and said, "Hey, you can't play this song that had already been okayed." Bob Dylan was a folk musician, but he was an activist. So this song was about a society that went looking for communists, and it was a parody on that. And they were afraid they were going to get sued. Good morning, Bren. And so, yeah, so he walked off. The story is he stormed off, and that made him popular because he was holding to his ground, and that's the they the kind of reputation he started having as being very integral about what he believed in. It wasn't until a little later that he really became super popular in the March on Washington, and he was one of the performers there. And then he performed lots of other places and became the superstar that he was. Although he was the star who was known for having songs when you couldn't really understand the words, because he kind of like with this very hoarse voice mumbled the words together in a lot of his songs, not all. Also, speaking about music, in 1965, the Rolling Stones recorded one of their smash hits, Satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hear it and I got to blurt it out. Um, Supposedly, that song, the lyrics of that song, the idea and all that came from a dream that Keith Richards, the drummer, had one night, and he woke up and he wrote it down. Interesting stuff. So all of that and so much more, I'm sure, on May 12th, this day in history. All right. Today, today we're still on the living your dream life. We're in chapter 8. We got two more chapters after that before we finish that. And we go back to the normal format where I'm just talking about things that have come up in my life or you know, wherever I'm reading and looking at and bringing tips and ideas to you to make a better life. And that's what Coffee with Kevin is all about. It's a coffee talk. For this short time, for 10 chapters, I've changed Coffee with Kevin to to talk about the chapters in my book because I've been told that they're really good. And hey, when I look back at my book, I say, wow, this is really good stuff. Who wrote this? I love to do that. So, chapter 8, I named it in the book. It's called Is It Really All About You? Because that's what came to me when I'm thinking about this chapter. And I'm thinking about how we interact with other people and how important it is to have other people interacting in our lives. So, however, today we're talking, well, just rename it to the secret of reciprocity. And I'm surprised I was able to speak that word so easily, reciprocity. Why helping others is your shortest path to success. And that's what this chapter is about, why we should help others in the first place and how it helps us. So beyond the self, why? Well, personal growth is internal, and we talk about personal growth so much in this coffee chat. We are part of a complex relationship and dependencies. We have relationships with others. First of all, we have relationships with our parents, our siblings, our internal, our close family. That's an important relationship, relationships that build as we're growing up. And sometimes when we grow up, though, I will granted, these relationships don't stay solid. They sometimes break apart, depending on the reasons, but they're still relationships. And then we have relationships with others, our work, our peers, and people we work with, our friends around us. Those relationships are important. We have this golden rule: do unto others as know, we would have done to us, or treat others simply as we'd like to be treated. That's the easier way to say it. But it's not just a rule, it's not just something that we should live by, we should think about all the time, but it's a tool, it's a strategy that you can use because assisting others inherently benefits you. Now, yeah, I talk about the caution of doing it just for that reason and say, "Oh, I'm going to help this lady across the street and I hope she gives me a tip." No, 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 no. You do it for, you do that knowing that in the back of your mind that it will come back to you at some point. And believe me, sometimes we'll do something big for someone and we get no gratitude from them and we say, why in the world did I do it? Because it's going to come back in some other way. It always does. And sometimes it doesn't come back right away. Sometimes it comes back years later. And maybe sometimes your reward will come in the afterlife. I don't know. But I know that it is really good to be able to help people. And it does something for you internally. Something you may not notice, but it does something for you internally. So your personal triumphs are intrinsically linked. Did I say that right? To the positive impact you have on the world around you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your personal triumphs are linked to the impact you have on the world around you. So, we'll talk about the philosophy of service, selfless versus selfish. I talk a lot about that in the book. And I'm almost to the point I was saying there's no such thing as selfless because We are selfless for a reason, a one time or another, one reason or another. Now, I say, okay, don't do things for others just because you want to get something out of it. But we actually do. We do it because it makes us feel good. We do it because we know it's right and we want to be right. We want to be on the right side of things. We do it because God asked us to. We love God and He wants us to be like that. See, that's when when it's this idea that something's totally selfless and we get absolutely nothing out of it whatsoever. I don't think that exists. But when you want to talk about selfless, which means I'm going to do something for someone without worrying about getting anything out of it, well, we can call that selfless. We can call that selfless. But the idea is, I'm not, and I'm not saying, we don't do things or um, we don't be selfless. I'm, what I'm saying is that ideal that someone's doing totally something without anything, any reason, without anything else is almost impossible to find. And I talk about that in depth in there. Now, I also talk about, rewards for service aren't always immediate. And I just talked about that, but they're an investment. They're an investment in your character. They're an investment in your future in one way or another. You're building upon that. It creates a supportive environment that eventually aids to your growth. And it is part of personal growth. And I also talk about the story, and I just love this story. A man passes away, and he finds himself at two banquet tables. And at first, they look identical. There are people all around the banquet table, and they have this 3 foot, uh, their utensils are 3 feet long, and they're tied to their wrist, and they extend 3 feet from each other. And in one room, everybody was in agony, and they were starving, and they were so bad looking. And in the other room, everybody was cheery and happy. Now they had the same food in the rooms. So an angel appeared and he said, "Why, with all this food in identical situations, why is one room so in agony and the other room is so happy?" And the angel said, "In one room, they're all trying to feed themselves. And they can't. They got this 3 foot extension of their utensils, of their forks and spoons off them, and they can't turn around and feed themselves. In the other room, they discovered that they feed each other, and they're all happy and healthy." I love that story. I love that metaphor. And that's a way to live life. That's a way to live life. I also talk about role modeling, and I actually take experiences for myself because we know, or if we don't, if any of you parents out there and you don't know that you're a role model to your kids from the day they're born, you got to know that. Meaning, you can tell them one thing, but they look at what you do. They look at how you live in front of them. So a lot of us parents say, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to be respectful in front of them, teach them to be respectful, teach them to be polite. We're going to be polite. We're going to teach them to follow the rules. We're going to follow the rules in front of them. I talk about you are a role model, whether you know it or not. So you should be doing all those things, but you should be doing all those things all the time. Because if you're not in front of your kids and you slip up and you start swearing, you go off the deep edge, you're you're being dishonest, you're not keeping your word, you're stealing, you're whatever it is, and yet you try to make your kids keep straight, they'll get that from you. They don't have to catch you in the act. They can feel whether you're sincere, whether you're have integrity. when you're telling them one thing and doing something else on the outside. I say wear a remote role model all the time. It doesn't mean to be in front of the kids. It could be in front of friends. It could be in front of peers. It could be, especially if you're a manager or a boss, you need to be a role model. And that being a role model actually helps you. I'm all about personal growth, and everything that I teach is for personal growth. But these are doing things for others that aids in personal growth. So walk the talk. I look for integrity, and I look for sincerity. And when I have my mentors, my instructors, my trainers, people I look up to, if I find out they're not walking the talk, I get so disappointed, and I don't look up to them anymore. You know, I when I was in training, and a lot of people I really looked up to, and they were masters of their craft, and they talk one way in class, and I see them socializing, and I see them outside of the class, and I see how they act, and it wasn't with integrity. Walk the talk. If you're saying things one way, be that person, do that thing, do those kinds of behaviors as much as you can. We're human, we're not perfect. We're gonna slip up. All of us do. But hold yourself to that as much as you can. And an integrity commitment. Living by your values you advocate inspires others and creates uplifting network of shared success. And when you have an uplifting network of shared success, you all benefit. Not just not just you, everyone else around you. Not just them, everyone else around them. We all benefit together. And that network can be small, to one or two friends, but if you continue doing the things, continue practicing the things I just said about helping others, being sincere, being a person of integrity, being a role model, then you find out that that spare opens up to more and more and more people. So yeah, so being the change, because that's what I want you to be. Um, to change your surroundings, you must first transform yourself. One of the quotes from Gandhi puts that point across. You start here, even though I'm talking about all that's outside, because if here, this like being a role model, if you're not a person of integrity, if you're not someone that walks the talk, you're not going to have the effect you want. You're not going to have the growth you want. Collective prosperity. We're not solitary islands. We certainly not. But by extending help, by feeding others instead of yourself, like the metaphor, we nurture a world of shared prosperity. I wish we were all knew that and we all acted that way. The world would be so much better. And an action step for you is look for one way today to help someone else move closer to their goals. Just one way. All right. Before we end today, I want to share with you, of course, quotes like every week. One thing Coffee with Kevin has been really consistent with is our quotes. And let's see what we have for quotes today. If I can get my mouse to work. Yes. Our first one is one of my absolute favorites. I've said this to many, many people. You can have anything in the world that you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. That's Zig Ziglar. I can hear him say it with that southern accent that he had, and with the passion that he had for helping people learn to help themselves, to grow in all sorts of ways. It was just fantastic. But this is absolutely true. You can have anything in the world you want if you can just help enough other people get what they want. From now on, any definition of a successful life must include serving others. This is George H.W. Bush. I don't remember which president he was, which number. I never go by the numbers. From now on, any definition of a successful life must include serving others. Yes, yes. I agree 100%. If you want to say you're successful, part of that success is how you've helped others. Okay, next one. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Mohandas Gandhi. I quote that so many times. I may mess up the quote, and maybe it's messed up when I'm reading it. I often say, okay, if we want to change the world, we got to start with ourselves. But we must be the change. That this is the basis. If we're complaining about the world all the time, and it's easy to complain about the world. There's so many things that's easy to complain about. But look here first. Start here first. There's no more noble occupation in the world than to assist another human being to help someone succeed. There's no more noble occupation in the world than to assist another human being to help someone succeed. That's what you want to do. And that's what I've been talking about is helping others. Treat others as you like to be treated. You know, you want to be helped. Sometimes we don't want to extend help. That's pride. But really, you'd love the help to be able to move towards what you want in life. So help others as well in many ways. There's many ways to help others. The next one, the only ones amongst you who will really be happy are those who have sought and found to serve. The only ones amongst you that are really going to be happy are only the ones that who have sought and found how to serve. Yeah. So we're talking about success, but we're also talking about happiness. And true happiness isn't found unless you've got that integration with other people. We aren't islands, but if we were on an island, we wouldn't be truly happy until we have other people. And when we have other people in our lives, we get happy when we help them. And lastly, you must not only give what we have, we must give what we are. And he's talking about charity, but he's saying it's much more than just giving of material things. It's giving of ourselves, giving of ourselves. You got friends to say, can you help me? I need some help with this or that. You see a stranger who needs help with this or that. Help them. Help them in any way you can. All right. This has been Coffee with Kevin. And it's chapter 8 today. Chapter 8, man. 2 more chapters, and then we're going to be back. But I love being able to bring my book in some way to you. And hopefully, when I'm finished all this, I'm going to have lots of little excerpts from these recordings so that I can bring this to you in an even better way. All right, all. You take care. Have an incredible, fantastic, astounding day and week. And you know, it's not because I wish it for you, it's because I know that you have the ability to make it that great. Mm, to you. Be wonderful, be incredible. Bye bye.